Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, and on today's video I'm going to be taking you through some of the books that I am really excited for release in 2023, and today we're going to be looking at January, February and March. There's quite a few books on this list. I'm not going to give you the full breakdown of all of them. I will show you here, this is why I've moved over. You'll get the cover and I will just sort of say a couple of sentences that I can either remember or that I quickly read on Goodreads, and then if you want to know more you can either ask me below and I'll go into more detail, or you can go find out. These are just books that I personally am quite excited for and would like to get to this year. A few of them are books that I already have on NetGalley, which is awesome, and I will let you know. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into it. Some of the January books are already out, and I apologise that this video is coming out a bit later than I planned, but at least I've done it, so hey ho. January 5th was the launch of Agency for Scandal by Laura Wood. I had a copy of this book, and I have a copy. I thought it was a fantastic book. I gave it 5 stars. I read it in a little over a day. It was a really fun time. Ladies detective agency set in 1800s London, and it's women protecting women, and it was just a really good time, and the main character was actually really enjoyable. Then skipping quite a lot of days to yesterday, which was the 17th, there were a few books launched yesterday that I was quite excited for. The first of which was Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. Sorcery of Thorns was the very first book that I ever read from a book box that I gave 5 stars, so it has a very special place in my heart. So obviously I want to see what happens next. This is a novella over a novel. It follows the events of Sorcery of Thorns, and I'm most looking forward to seeing Silas in it because he was by far my favourite character in Sorcery of Thorns, and he reminds me of Sebastian from Black Butler, so yeah, I love him. Also, yesterday is a book that I am currently reading from NetGalley that I will be doing a full review of and a blog tour of, and that is called The Backup Plan by Jill Shalvis. This is a romance that is more than just a romance, it's very multi-layered. It's a book essentially about rebuilding, and it's a group of people who have been inherited this house from a woman who at some point in all their lives they're either related to her or she's helped them in their lives, and they end up repairing the house but also repairing a lot of bonds between themselves and repairing themselves in different ways, and it's a very enjoyable book so far. Now we're finally looking to the future of these books. So the 19th of January, which are the last few books on this January section, we have The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. I do have this on pre-order. I will admit I got it as very much a cover buy. And essentially it's a story about a woman who is trying to escape her life. She moves to New York, gets a job in the Cloisters, which is like a, what is it says? It's a Gothic museum, and she ends up getting involved in this research to do with tarot cards, but things turn a bit dangerous and a bit deadly. And it just sounds dark and mysterious and gothic, and typically not what I would normally read, but I am trying to get more into those sorts of books, and that cover from Waterstones is just perfection. Also on the 19th is You Are Not Alone by Carrie Lloyd. This is a book all about grief, and it's a compendium of different people's stories of how they have manoeuvred through grief. It's based off Carrie's podcast, which I think is called Griefcast or something like that, and it's just got her own commentary as well about how to deal with grief and the ways that people handle grief. I think it's going to be one that a lot of people are going to connect with because everyone has suffered with grief at some point in their life. The final one for January is Godkiller by Hannah Kaner, and this one again was a bit of a cover pick for me. This cat is going crazy today. Hey! Again, this was a bit of a cover pick for me. But the blurb, it just, Kissin kills gods for a living and she enjoys it. Need I say any more? Moving in to February, shorter month, but yet there's still plenty of books coming out. Starting with the very first day, which is The Wheel of the Year by Rebecca Beatty. This is one that I've got an arc of but haven't yet got to. It's a non-fiction that looks at the Wheel of the Year, and I think it focuses on nature And I think there's like a spiritual / pagan element to this book where it's just about how you can reconnect yourself throughout the year and how you can use nature to enhance your like spiritual well-being. And I just think it sounds really awesome, and I think it could be a really nice one to get into. On the 7th, we have The Fifth Horseman by John Smith. Now, this looks really, really funny, and it is a comedy, so I think it's going to be really good. It's described as The Hitchhiker's Galaxy meets Father Ted, so it's going to be chaotic and brilliant if it's executed correctly. And essentially, it follows two 30-somethings who have died. They're now in the afterlife and have to embrace their role as reapers in order to stop the world from ending. But this sounds a lot more tangible to me and just sounds like it's going to be a really, really fun, good time. On the 23rd of January, we have Sincerely Me by Julieta Henderson. This follows Danny, who is kind of someone whose life hasn't really sort of kicked into gear. He's sort of spent his whole life not really living up to his potential and has that feeling of he could do better. He's outcasted from his family. He doesn't really have much to do with them. But then there's a misleading newspaper article that comes out about him that says that the way that he lives is like really enlightening and really soul seeking. And suddenly he finds that he's getting loads of people contacting him wanting advice and guidance. And then because of this news article, it draws attention of his niece Wolfie, who then tracks him down and is like, hey, my mom's really struggling, please can you reconnect? And so he goes from being this kind of like bum that lives in a shed to suddenly he's got all these people asking his advice. He's got a niece, he's got a sister, and he's just sort of having to now deal with the fact that all these people expect things from him, and it's whether is he going to cope or not. And then finally for February we have The Neighbour Favour by Christina Forrest. So you've got the main character, she's like really shy, really bookish, nerdy, and she struggles with feelings of inadequacy and like her career hasn't quite gone how she wants. And then I think it's her sister is getting married, and so she asks her neighbour to go as her date, not realising that her neighbour is actually her favourite fantasy author who uses a pseudonym. And then he realises that there was a woman he fell in love with over email a few months earlier, and then he realises that that's her, and I think it's going to be really cute. This could seriously set up for a really, really strong miscommunication trope, so I'm really hoping it doesn't go that way. I have a horrible feeling it will, but it does sound like it's going to be a really good read, and I think I am going to really enjoy this. Yeah, it just looks like a really super cute story, and I think I'm going to really love it, or at least I hope I will. And then finally coming into March, and we have the last few books. Starting with the 2nd of March, we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And this follows I think she's retired. It's a retired ex-pirate who has settled down, got a family, got a life, built a good, honest thing. But then there's like one last adventure that she can have that she gets roped into, and she can't resist that call, and it ends up going back to her old crew. And from what I understand, it brings back all of the stories and the adventures that they had before, as well as this current one. And it sort of shows that, you know, like quests and glory comes at a big cost. And I know a lot of people are really excited about this. This will be the first time that I've read anything by S.A. Chakraborty, so I am quite looking forward to it. And I've seen a couple of special editions been announced, and it looks really cool. I really like the cover. Then on the 7th, we have The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. Now, I read For the Wolf and I really, really enjoyed it. I haven't yet read For the Throne, but I will be soon. So she is an author that I am aware of, and I have so far enjoyed her work. And this just sounds amazing. You've got the main character who has the ability to raise the dead. When that power is discovered, she ends up being put into this king's court that is like really dangerous, and she's like, oh god. She has this power and she works with poisons and things like that, but she's kept it all a secret. But when she's found out, she ends up being thrust into this court where she's got a guy that's trying to protect her, but then there's another guy who's just kind of being a pain in the ass. And it just sounds like a really dark, delicious adult fantasy that I'm looking forward to getting into. And yeah, I can't wait for this one. I've had it on pre-order for months and I can't wait. Next is one that seems really, really fun, and that is The Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. And honestly, this one just sounds really, really funny, to be honest. You've got the main character. She's poised to be like the most powerful witch of her generation, but instead of being into it, she would rather bake and garden and things like that. She's not interested in being this all-powerful witch. However, when a spell goes horrendously wrong when she's trying to summon flour, she ends up summoning this demon who wants to strike a bargain with her, because the only way that he can return back to hell is if he takes her soul. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. Unfortunately, her mum comes into the room and she ends up blurting out that they're dating. So they now have to kind of navigate fake dating, as well as him trying to get her soul and her trying to just get away from magic. And it just sounds funny, and it also sounds like it could be really, really sweet as well. I'm excited for this one. I also really like the cover. I think it's really, really cute. And I've seen different covers of it, but this one is my personal favourite. So I'm hoping that's the one that I'm going to get, because I have pre-ordered this from Forbidden Planet. 14th of March is Wa, the Art of Balance, and this is by Kaki Okumura, and I am currently reading this book, to be honest. I'm halfway through it. I'm quite enjoying it so far. It's looking at the Japanese way of living, so it looks at Japanese philosophies towards food, towards rest, towards exercise, things like that. And it has a really good mix of things, like in the Nourish section, it's got recipes to follow, and it has some really solid guidance, and it just looks at 4 areas of your life and looks at how the Japanese approach these things, because it's very different to the Western world in a lot of cases. So yeah, it's just a nice, interesting study into how the Japanese approach certain aspects of life. And then the final book for this list is Ace Notes by Michelle Kirichanskaya. And for this book, it's almost like a workbook that you can go through, and it has a list of questions and exercises to help you explore what it means to be asexual, and it also takes you through the different types of asexuality. From what I can tell, it's a book that is geared towards people like myself, where they are questioning if they are asexual, and yeah, just it has little exercises and things in to help you with those questions. So yeah, there you have it. There's quite a mix of books here. There's some fantasy, some romance, some non-fiction, some various ones. Most of these are ones that I now have on pre-order. A few of these, like I said, I do have on NetGalley, and I'm making my way through them. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to as many of these as possible this year. Let me know in the comments, what are some of your most anticipated reads? Are there any that I've not mentioned that you think, from my reading tastes, I would really enjoy? I do have quite a lot of other books coming up for the rest of the year, but obviously I will talk about those later in the year. Any books that I read that are released in 2023, I do want to do full in-depth reviews of, so keep an eye out for those, because there are a few already that I've managed to read or I'm currently reading that I will be doing full reviews on. So if you are interested, then make sure you are subscribed and following me so you get those updates. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your most anticipated releases are. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And until next time, bye.